At the very heart of the Buddhist path lies a single, profound objective: the cessation of suffering. Among the myriad forms this suffering takes, one in particular has become a pervasive shadow in our modern world, a quiet epidemic that afflicts millions behind closed doors. It is the restless, churning, and often paralyzing emotion we call anxiety. To understand anxiety through the lens of Buddhism is not merely to find coping mechanisms, but to discover a radical and transformative approach to this destructive force, beginning with a beautiful paradox. The only way to win the fight against anxiety is to stop fighting it altogether. The futility of the fight. Anxiety and its more volatile manifestations, panic attacks, obsessive worry, social phobias, are now commonplace. For most of us, the instinctive reaction to the first unsettling flutter of anxiety is to declare war. We brace ourselves, we resist, we try to push it down, argue with it, or distract ourselves from its presence. We treat anxiety as a hostile invader that must be repelled at all costs. But Buddhism offers a startlingly different perspective. It teaches that fighting anxiety is like trying to flatten the ripples in a pond by striking them with your fist. The very act of resistance creates more turbulence. When you fight something that already is, a feeling already present in your body, a thought already present in your mind, you are engaging in a form of madness. You are creating a secondary layer of suffering, anxiety about the anxiety. You become trapped in a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle where your fear of the feeling becomes more powerful than the feeling itself. The first and most crucial step, therefore, is to lay down your arms. The teachings of the Buddha are not geared toward resistance, but toward wise and courageous acceptance. Diagnosing the disease, the anxious society, and the monkey mind. To understand how to treat anxiety, we must first correctly diagnose its source. We live in a society that cultivates anxiety as its primary crop. We are told we are never safe enough, so we trade our freedoms for the illusion of security. We are told we are never beautiful enough, so we engage in a frantic, endless pursuit of physical perfection through cosmetic procedures and punishing diets. We are told we are never rich or successful enough, leading to a pervasive status anxiety, a constant worry about our jobs, our bank accounts, and our perceived position relative to others, the exhausting game of keeping up with the Joneses. In the digital age, this has been amplified exponentially. We now have our Instagram followers, our Facebook likes, and our social media metrics to obsess over, each one a potential source of validation or a trigger for inadequacy. With this constant barrage of things to worry about, it is no wonder we seek escape. The common coping mechanisms of our time, alcohol, drugs, compulsive eating, mindless entertainment, pornography, are all attempts to numb the mind and flee from the discomfort of our own anxiety. But this very phenomenon reveals a profound truth. Anxiety is not primarily a product of the outside world. It is a product of the mind. Buddhism has a wonderfully descriptive term for the source of this internal turmoil: the monkey mind. Imagine a restless, agitated monkey, swinging frantically from one tree branch to another, never still, chattering endlessly. This is a perfect metaphor for the untrained human mind. It leaps from worries about the future to regrets about the past, from imagined catastrophes to replayed conversations, never resting in the calm reality of the present moment. Our greatest mistake is that we believe this monkey. We take its frantic chatter as gospel. We are easily fooled by our own minds, forgetting that the mind is a masterful fabricator of fantasies, a skilled weaver of lies, and a brilliant producer of baseless negativity. The mind is not always our friend. Therefore, the first step in wisdom is to learn to be skeptical of its pronouncements, especially when it presents a relentless deluge of fearful and negative scenarios. When we believe the chaotic stories of the monkey mind, we give it the power to generate the very real, physical symptoms of anxiety in our bodies. The wisdom of pointless worry and the practice of dissolving. Once we understand that anxiety is born of a hyperactive, untrustworthy mind, Buddhism offers us both a profound piece of wisdom and a practical course of action. The wisdom can be found in a simple yet powerful teaching from the 8th century Buddhist monk, Shantideva. He said, "If the problem can be solved, why worry? If the problem cannot be solved, worrying will do you no good." This logic is flawless. If you face a challenge that has a solution, your energy should not be spent on the emotional state of worry, but on focused, present-moment action to solve it. If, on the other hand, the challenge is beyond your control, the weather, the past, the opinions of others, then spending your time and energy thinking about it is utterly pointless. It is like trying to change the direction of the wind by shouting at it. Unfortunately, our monkey mind loves to worry. It seems to adore solving puzzles, but it fails to recognize that most of the puzzles it creates are illusions, based on irrational fears, future fantasies, and projections that have no basis in current reality. This is where wisdom must be paired with practice. When it comes to the excessive, anxious thinking of the monkey mind, our goal should not be resolvement, but dissolvement. We do not need to solve the mind's fictional puzzles. We need to let them dissolve back into the nothingness from which they arose. The primary Buddhist method for achieving this is meditation. Meditation, in this context, is not about emptying the mind, which is impossible. It is about changing your relationship to your thoughts. It is the practice of sitting quietly, focusing on a neutral anchor like the breath, and simply observing the activity of the mind without getting entangled in it. You become the calm, silent observer on the bank of a river, watching the thoughts, the debris in the water, float by. You notice them, you acknowledge them without judgment, and you let them go. You do not jump into the river to grab onto every piece of debris and analyze it. This practice, performed consistently, does something remarkable. It calms the monkey mind. It creates space between you, the observer, and your thoughts. You begin to see that you're not your anxiety. You're the one who is aware of the feeling of anxiety. This separation is the beginning of freedom. By meeting the mind not with resistance, but with gentle, non-judgmental acceptance, you rob anxiety of its fuel. You stop the cycle of worrying about worry. The ripples on the pond, no longer being struck, are allowed to naturally settle, revealing the clear, calm water beneath. This is the cure for anxiety, not a magic pill, but the courageous and patient practice of returning, again and again, to the peace of the present moment.